Hi, it's John Oppa here. Today, we are going to learn how to say after in Korean. We actually learned how to say before right before this lesson. It was very simple. You could just put 전에 after a time or noun. For verbs, you use 기 전에. But for after, it's a little bit more complicated. Let's take it step by step. The particle is very similar to 전에. It's 후에. As you can see, it looks quite similar to 전에, right? That's because 전 is a 한자 meaning before and 후 is a 한자 meaning after. So 후에 is also grammatically very similar to 전에. You can just put 후에 after a time or noun. There's nothing difficult about that. But for verbs, it's a bit different. Just like with 전에, you have to use a special form after verbs. There are two types. For verbs ending in a vowel, you add 니은 후에. And for verbs ending in a consonant, you add 은 후에. It's a little bit more difficult because it has two different forms, isn't it? Now, let's look at some examples. 1년 후에 BTS 콘서트에 갈 거예요. I will go to the BTS concert 1 year later. 1년 means 1 year, and it's a time expression. So it's very easy. For time, you can just put 후에 after it. 시험 후에 10시간 동안 잘 거예요. I will sleep for 10 hours after the exam. 시험 means exam, and it's a noun. For nouns, it's the same as time expressions. You can just put 후에 after it. 수박을 씻은 후에 먹었어요. I ate the watermelon after washing it. Here you can see the particle 후에 comes after the verb 씻다, which means to wash. Since 씻다 ends with the consonant 시옷, you have to put 은 후에 after the verb. 수박을 먹은 후에 걸었어요. I walked after eating the watermelon. Here, you can see that the particle 후에 comes after the verb 먹다, which means to eat. Since 먹다 ends with the consonant 히읗, you have to put 은 후에 after the verb. 게임한 후에 공부를 했어요. I studied after playing games. Here, you can see that the particle 후에 comes after the verb 게임하다, which means to play games. Since 게임하다 ends with the vowel 아, you have to put 니은 후에 after the verb. 친구가 집에 온 후에 같이 밥을 먹었어요. I ate with my friend after he came to my house. Here you can see that the particle 후에 comes after the verb 오다, which means to come. Since 오다 ends with the vowel 오, you have to put 니은 후에 after the verb. Now let's move on to some practice questions. I will call you in 10 minutes. 10분 후에 전화할게요. I will go to Korea 1 year later. 1년 후에 한국에 갈 거예요. I drink coffee after a meal. 식사 후에 커피를 마셔요. We took a picture after graduation. 우리는 졸업 후에 사진을 찍었어요. I went to the cafe after shopping. 쇼핑한 후에 카페에 갔어요. I went home after meeting my friend. 친구를 만난 후에 집에 갔어요. We rested together after eating. 음식을 먹은 후에 같이 쉬었어요. Please contact me after you arrive. 도착한 후에 연락해 주세요. See you 1 hour later. 1시간 후에 봐요. Let's meet 3 days later. 3일 후에 만나요. Today we learned how to say after using the particle 후에. That's it for today's lesson, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thank you for watching.